Welcome back to Today in Atlanta Sports. It's opening day week, Jake, and we kind of know what the opening day roster should look like after the comments from Brian Snitker over the weekend, which were pretty exciting if you ask me. Usually the Braves and a lot of teams will be conservative, but coming off a World Series title, uh, pedal to the metal. Looks like we're going with the best guys. They say William Contreras will be on the roster, used as a DH. He also said maybe some right field, maybe some third base, maybe some second base. They said he's an athlete. I'd love to see it because the Braves definitely going to need some backup infield help at some point this season. So we'll see if they ever put him in the infield. That's definitely interesting because I've never seen him play the infield. But we'll see how that works. Strider, obviously super exciting to see him on the roster. I think they're going to go with him in the bullpen. He could be used as a sixth starter, but with Luke Jackson out, I think he could be in the bullpen all season. And then you have Tucker Davidson also that will be on the roster. He could be that sixth starter. They say they're probably going to go with a six-man rotation. Makes sense. 14 games in 14 days to open the season. So really exciting to see those three guys, and they're going to round out the roster.
Yeah, I'm especially excited about Spencer Strider. Like we see this in the postseason. We saw it with Max Fried 2 years ago. Kind of like that swing starter almost. Come in and maybe give you 4 innings. We saw it with Drew Smiley last year. But I'm excited that they're still giving Spencer Strider a chance to start, especially because his potential is through the roof. Like I understand he throws very hard, and if he can do that consistently for 6, 7 innings, I mean, you're talking about a real difference maker at the back end of the rotation.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing with Strider, I think at a minimum in his major league career, just what we've seen, like he's going to be a terrific, back end of the reliever kind of arm. I mean, when you throw 100 and you have a wipeout slider like that, you don't even need a third pitch. If you're only throwing for 1 inning, you just don't. So I think that's definitely his potential. I mean, he could be a closer for this team, but if he can develop a third offering, and we've seen him work on that change up in spring training, and it's looked pretty good. If he can throw that pitch consistently, I mean, you're talking about a potential superstar here. I mean, and this is
Yeah.
why the Braves aren't just like so many people after they saw him for the first time in relief last season were so quick to be like, oh, he's going to be like this elite bullpen piece. Well, it's like, and the Braves are like, no, we're going to try to get him to develop a third, fourth offering. And if he can do that to work off that fastball slider, and it's not like it needs to be like this go-to pitch. Like it can be 90% fastball and sliders. But if he just mixes in that changeup 10% of the time, or another offering, a curveball, whatever. I mean, this guy's got. Look at DeGrom, bro. When you watch, and I know that's ridiculous to say that, but look, DeGrom sits at 100, and then he has this nasty slider, and just 5-10% of the time he goes to something else. But if you have those two pitches and you can locate them, and then you can just mix in a third pitch, I mean, the sky's the limit for you, and it's crazy how much potential Strider has.
Yeah, I think at worst, it sucks because this guy just had surgery. But like a Garrett Crochet kind of guy, like some guy you're gonna bring in. Like I need an out right now, and I'm gonna let this guy come in and throw 101, 102 miles an hour and just
and good luck.
You against me. Like let's see who comes out on top. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's just look through just like the overall roster. So starters, I put 7 on the list because Tucker Davidson and Spencer Strider I still consider starters. They both could come out of the bullpen. They both could start early on in the season. But the other 5, you have Fried, Morton, Wright, Anderson, it'll be in that order. Those are going to be the first 5 starters of the 5 games. As I wrote about today, I think Kyle Wright's going to be the team's breakout star. So really excited to see him pitch. He pitched really well in spring training. But nothing really surprising there. Is a guy I would kind of watch out for. He could be a reliever or a starter for this whole season. I'm kind of up in the air on his potential. But, those last 3 guys, Davis and Strider, they could both be used in multiple different ways. The infield is where I think the one shaky spot of the roster is the infield. Because you have probably the best infield or one of the best infields on paper in the starters. But they're only carrying Orlando Arcia. That's it. That is the backup infielder on this opening day roster. And I don't love Arcia really. I don't even know if he's a replacement level major leaguer. I mean, maybe. So if someone goes down, that worries me. That's the one hole on the roster that I'm like, dude, I just hope they don't get any injuries in the infield or the Braves are going to have to make a move.
Yeah, even if you look at Gwinnett, there's not too many other options for replacements. I guess Ryan Goins would be next.
Yeah, Phil Gosselin, but none of these guys are good.
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't be
especially not the caliber of the starters.
I wouldn't be surprised if I think Anthopoulos, if you had a top priority of things he's looking for when teams make all these cuts, I bet you they bring at least one, if not multiple guys that are like have major league experience kind of guys that are willing to take minor league deals or whatever, or maybe they find someone that could even be on the major league roster right away. But I think that's the top priority for this team is finding another guy that could fill in. Just, I mean, if any of those guys get, because last year everyone played 160 games, like in the infield, and that's the goal for the Braves. That's how they operate. But the odds of that happening again, very, very low. Like that's just not going to happen. That's so rare.
Yeah, normally this would be a Johan Camargo type of thing, but obviously he's not around anymore. So
yeah, I mean now I kind of wish we had Camargo as much as he did, as little as he did. Like there was like at least an option. Catcher is Darno.
Yeah.
Catchers Deno, Pena, and Contreras. I put Contreras as a catcher, but I honestly doubt we ever see him catch in Atlanta. I mean, as long as Darno and Pena are there, they're going to be the catchers. I could see Contreras. I think he's going to be the primary DH while Acuna's out. I think he's going to, if he's not the primary DH, he's definitely going to be used there a lot. You could see him in right field, especially if Rosario or Ozuna are really struggling in the outfield. I doubt we see him in the infield, but as I said earlier, like that is the opportunity. But I think that's an all-star bat there. I really do. You saw how well he hit in AAA when they sent him back down. He had like a 900 OPS and 10 homers in 40 games. Like this guy's a stud with the bat.
Yeah, and I think we'll see Dickerson against right-handed hitting, and then Contreras against lefties. I think that was the way I haven't looked too much into it, but Dickerson's left-handed, and I know he's got a lot of power. And I think they'll split him up based on that.
Yep. That makes perfect sense. If you ask me, which leads us into the outfield where we have Ozuna, Duvall, Rosario, Dickerson, and Heredia. Obviously no Acuna yet. Another thing, I mean, until Acuna gets back, it's another area where depth is just kind of an issue. I love Heredia. I love what he brings to the clubhouse, but I don't want to see him out there playing very much. I think Dickerson's a pretty good, guy to have, but again, nothing special. So you just hope you can stay healthy, get Acuna back, and then that outfield starts to look a lot better.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't think Ronald's going to be out that long. I think the original reports we got where May is kind of early May was his targeted date. And I think that's fine. I don't think there's any reason to rush him right now. We saw how poorly the Braves started last year, even with Acuna, and it didn't end up mattering in the end. And there's no reason to rush him. I'm sure he's completely ready. I'm sure his body's fine, but there's no reason to push him back if there's still just a little bit of doubt. I'm sure he'll be cleared pretty soon. He'll go play some rehab games. He'll probably absolutely torture some 19-year-old in single A or double A, and he'll be back in a couple weeks.
That'll be a fun one if he plays out there in Rome or something and just gets into one. It's just like, dude, yeah, that's always fun. But yeah, I agree. I mean, I think if this was a situation where the Braves really needed him, like he could be out there playing tomorrow. Like if this was a World Series game. But yeah, there's no reason to rush him or anything like that. I heard late April. I think I heard maybe even an exact date, April 21st or something, is what we could see him DHing. And I think that there's a very good, once he can run, I mean, they'll use him as a DH pretty quickly. And once the doctors say, hey, it's like there's no risk in re-injuring it. Like if a re-injury happens, it just happens because you tore an ACL. Once that happens, he should be out there DHing. They'll ease him into the field, but like I said, if this was like a must-win situation, like I think he's healthy enough to play right now. I mean, they wouldn't have him out there, swinging and hitting if he wasn't.
I told you, I think he could have played in the World Series.
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't have him out there doing all this stuff if he wasn't pretty much 100%.
Yeah, man, he's a freak. Like we've seen him hit, like he's been hitting balls off the scoreboard, like just out there taking BP, just absolutely cranking balls 475 feet, giggling, joking around, like not even taking it serious. It's Ronald Acuna Jr., man. He's a superstar. He's fine. And I'm totally fine with him just taking a little bit of time on him.
Yeah, and I don't think his body heals like ours either. I don't think his body does anything like ours, frankly.
No, absolutely.
Then the last thing we got here is the bullpen. Kenley Jansen will be the closer. Obviously, the big loss here is losing Luke Jackson, 60-day IL. It looks like he's going to be out for the season with UCL damage. I mean, whether he has to get Tommy John, maybe he doesn't, but he's at least going to be out for a few months, and I would say he's likely going to be out for the season. That's usually Tommy John, and there's usually just no way around it. You got Colin McHugh and Will Smith I have as the setup men. Tyler Matzik will be another setup man. Then I think your middle relievers, you got A.J. Minter, Darren O'Day, Tyler Thornburg. And we got Sean Newcomb in there. I think Newcomb is going to be more of a long relief guy, kind of, until he proves that he can handle, getting guys out at the major league level. he'll just get some long relief opportunities. But this is really Luke's or Newcomb's, not Luke's, Newcomb's last opportunity, because if he struggles at this juncture, they're going to cut ties with him. They're going to DFA him, which would make him a free agent, and he will find a new change of scenery. Unfortunately, as much as I love Nuke, that's just where I see that's where I see this heading. He just hasn't shown it, man. I mean, he'll come in buzzing 100 miles per hour from the left side, which you only like 10 guys in the major leagues can do. He's got a nasty curveball, but for whatever reason, he just can't throw strikes. He can't find, hit his spots, and he gets killed. And I do think a change of scenery could do him wonders. And it's a guy that like he could go hop on with like the Phillies and be great. But for the Braves, it just hasn't worked out for whatever reason.
Yeah, and even if he wasn't out of options, which he is out of options, I kind of still think it would be like all right, like this is your last ride with us. And there's plenty of guys behind him. You talk about Kyle Muller, you talk about Bryce Elder. There's plenty of guys chomping at the bit to get up on this roster. So it really is now or never for him, because there's somebody that they could replace him with that they've been dying to get a look at.
Well, yeah, and right now this is a 28-man roster. In 2 days, that's why he has a month. He not only has to he has to be better than average. Like, he has to prove to the team why he belongs on this roster, or he's going to be done by the end of May, because 2 of these guys are going to get off, and then you're going to want to keep Strider probably. If he performs well, you might want to keep Tucker Davidson. So, he's going to have to prove why he belongs on this roster. It's not going to. He can't just go out there and be okay. Like, he has to really be good for this month, because I'm honestly, frankly, a little bit surprised, not like totally surprised, that they're still even giving this opportunity, because he hasn't been good this spring either. And it wouldn't have surprised me at all if they just cut ties, even after last year, if they had cut ties.
Yeah, I've harped on this multiple times. Me and you have both talked about it. It was one of those things to where it really sucked that he missed a lot of spring training. And thankfully, he actually got a spring training, because we were saying he's one of those guys like Kyle Wright that needed those reps, like needed to be out there, because this is probably, I don't think it would be Kyle Wright's last rodeo, but with Newcomb, it's like, yeah, dude, this is your last shot. Like, you have to be out there and getting valuable experience.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I mean, I think when you go back to Kyle Wright, you talk about a guy who I have named as a breakout star, but yeah, he's getting up to where time's running out. But then you also remember, look how long we've hung on to Sean Newcomb. So as much as Kyle Wright, like, you kind of think like, oh, he's got to perform now. They're going to hang on to these guys that they invested a lot in. Like, they traded Anderson Simmons for Sean Newcomb. They drafted Kyle Wright 5th overall. They're going to give them as many chances as they can. But as far as Newcomb goes, this is it. Literally, no more options. This is it.
Yeah, and I wouldn't call I wouldn't call Kyle Wright a bonus baby. He's kind of a bonus baby because he got the highest bonus ever for a college pitcher at the time. But the fact of the matter is, Kyle Wright has some of the best stuff in this entire organization, like top to bottom. The kid can straight up pitch. We saw it in the World Series. He's looked pretty solid this spring at times, and I'm pulling for him. Like I've said since the beginning, I will never give up on Kyle Wright, just because when you see when he's on and the stuff that he has, that's ace stuff. Like that's Cy Young stuff. It's incredible. It's just all about consistency. And a guy like Jacob DeGrom, I don't know why we keep bringing him up. Jacob DeGrom didn't break into the big leagues until he was like 27. Kyle Wright, I think, is about 27. He's 26 or 27. So yeah. Some guys, it just takes a little bit longer, and there's no harm in that. We saw Austin Riley. You mentioned this. We've seen Austin Riley struggle, and people were ready to give up on him too. And now he's one of the best third basemen in the league. So I'm ready to give Kyle Wright his chance right now. I would tell him, look, kid, this is your rotation spot. You're not going down. This is your spot, at least until the All-Star break. Like, let's see what you got.
Yeah, I mean, Wright didn't even get he didn't even get to pitch in the majors last year. Like, he only had 2 starts. He looked bad at him, but then he was really good when he went back to the minors. And then he clearly figured something out, because look what he did in the World Series. And
that's the biggest stage. We talk about his confidence and him being nervous and not being ready, but that's the biggest stage you could possibly be on.
I don't know how he can have any confidence issues after the way he performed in the World Series. Like, there can never be a situation where he has more pressure than pitching at home in a 2-1 series, with everything on the line. So I have to think that that's going to help. That's my biggest reason. Obviously, I've always believed in his stuff, but I think confidence has always been the issue. And I just feel like I don't know how you do not get the utmost amount of confidence when shutting down probably one of the best offensive teams we've seen in the last decade on the biggest stage. Like, if that doesn't give you confidence, I don't know what you're never going to get confidence.
What's a regular season game against the Reds on opening weekend? What's the big deal? Like, I hope that's kind of the mindset he's taking. Maybe not a big deal, but that he's definitely like, all right, I'm a good pitcher. I can handle these guys. Like, let's play.
Yeah, and if it's a bad start, it's not the end of the world because trust me, like I guarantee you, they've gone up to Wright and said, "Hey, man, this is your spot. We need you to perform. You don't worry about getting yo-yoed back and forth. This is yours to lose." So I hope that's the mindset he has. That's going to be a fun game because we get Wright, who I'm really excited to see, and then I think Hunter Green's going to start that Sunday for the Reds, which is
Yeah,
going to
that's
be
gonna be fun.
yeah, that's going to be a fun Sunday game. But that wraps up this edition of Today in Atlanta Sports. Thank you guys for joining us. And I'm sure we'll have a ton more of these Braves ones coming up with the season starting on